It was late August, and the air was thick with humidity and the distant rumble of thunder. My parents had left me home alone for the first time overnight. Our farmhouse sat at the edge of a large open field, surrounded by tall, swaying grass and dense woods that crept close to the back property line. I was 13, old enough to feel brave, but young enough that the silence of the house at night still held a quiet menace. I wasn't scared, though. In fact, I loved the solitude. I could play video games as loud as I wanted, blast music, eat whatever I felt like, no rules. The storm had rolled in just after dusk. I sat on the wraparound porch, watching streaks of lightning cut across the sky. There was something calming about the sound of thunder echoing across the fields, a reminder that I was completely alone. And for a while, that felt nice. Eventually, I carried my old Xbox down from my room to the den on the first floor. The den was my favorite part of the house, sunk in a few steps below the main level, with big windows that looked out over the backyard and tree line. My dad's massive TV was mounted on the far wall, with surround sound speakers that made everything feel cinematic. I rarely got to use it without permission, so I was soaking in the moment. I settled in, started a multiplayer match, and put on my cheap headset to talk to my friend Ethan. The storm outside was in full swing now, rain hammering the windows, thunder rattling the old walls, and the occasional flicker of lightning making the lights stutter. But it only added to the atmosphere. I was having the time of my life until the doorbell rang. It was jarring. Our doorbell was old and shrill, and no one ever came by unannounced, especially not during a storm. I froze. Ethan asked what was up, and I told him someone was at the door. He joked that it was probably a serial killer. I laughed it off, but muted my mic and crept upstairs. I didn't open the front door. I just stood there, heart pounding, and called out, "Who's there?" A man's voice responded, muffled but clear enough to send a chill through me. "Hey, I just need to use your phone. Please." I didn't answer. I backed away from the door and returned to the den. But now, the house didn't feel so cozy. It felt too big, too quiet, and I realized I'd made a mistake. I let whoever was out there know someone was home. Ethan was still on the mic. I told him what happened, and his tone changed. "Dude, don't open anything. Just stay put." The doorbell rang again. I tried to ignore it. Minutes passed. Then, silence. Slowly, my nerves settled. I turned the volume back up, dove back into the game, and started to convince myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Just some lost traveler. No big deal. That illusion shattered when I heard the back door creak open. I looked to my right and saw a figure, a tall man, slipping inside through the mudroom door that connected to the den. He didn't say anything. He just stepped forward, dripping wet, eyes scanning the room. I didn't think. I ran. I bolted into the office next to the den and slammed the door behind me, twisting the lock just as the handle jerked violently. He was trying to get in. The door shook with each attempt. Then he stopped. Silence. I backed up, barely breathing. Then, from the other side, the man spoke again, this time more urgent. "Kid, I'm not gonna hurt you. I just need a phone. I'm stuck out here." His voice was low, then angrier. "Open the door, you little bleep. Don't make me break it down." The pounding started again. He was slamming his fists against the door, harder each time. I could hear things rattling on the walls. I had to get out. The office had a second door, to the garage. I hit the button to open it. The motor whined loudly as it slowly lifted. Every second felt like an hour. I dropped to the ground and crawled under the halfway open door, then sprinted barefoot into the rain. I didn't stop running until I reached the neighbor's house 3 lots down. I banged on their door like my life depended on it, and maybe it did. When Julian opened the door, I didn't even explain. I just rushed in, breathless and terrified. The police arrived not long after. They found the man hiding in our basement and arrested him. I overheard him telling the officers it was his house, that I was his son. He was either high, drunk, or completely out of his mind. I never stayed in that farmhouse alone again. Even years later, I still flinch at the sound of a doorbell during a storm. When I moved into the farmhouse, I imagined peace. Open skies, quiet nights, rain tapping gently on the windows. That's all I wanted, quiet. But storms in the countryside aren't gentle. They don't whisper, they scream. The night it happened, thunder was already shaking the walls, and the wind howled like something alive. It started with the motion lights. They flickered on outside around 10 p.m., flooding the backyard in harsh white. I figured it was a deer, or maybe the wind setting them off. I looked through the window. Nothing. Just rain and fog. 10 minutes later, the lights flicked on again. Then the doorbell rang. No one visits during a storm like that. I checked the video feed on my phone. A figure stood there, soaked, unmoving. His face was hidden beneath a hoodie, water dripping from the brim. I didn't answer. I just stared at the screen, hoping he'd leave. He didn't. Instead, he walked away from the door. But the backyard camera picked him up 2 minutes later. He was standing at the back of the house, staring in through the kitchen window. That's when I turned off all the lights inside. I crouched low, phone in hand, watching the cameras. The rain was relentless, thunder rolling in waves. Then, a tap on the glass, soft, deliberate. I held my breath and crept toward the kitchen. He was still there, but now, smiling. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was wrong, wide, like he enjoyed being out there, in the storm, scaring me. Then I heard the garage door open. I hadn't triggered it. I hadn't touched a thing. I panicked and ran to the master bedroom, slammed the door, locked it. I called 911. While the dispatcher spoke, I heard footsteps downstairs. Wet boots on the hardwood. Slow. Searching. And then, silence. When the police arrived, 20 minutes later, the house was empty. Every door was locked. No signs of forced entry. But muddy footprints led from the garage to the stairs, and then stopped halfway up. They never found him, but every time it rains like that again, I stay up all night, watching the cameras, listening for footsteps, because part of me thinks he never really left. If you enjoy chilling, true horror stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. Hit like if the storm gave you chills, and share it with someone who sleeps with the lights off. New terrifying tales drop every week, and trust me, they only get darker from here. Stay safe and stay watching.